I've read so many personal finance books, but not many of them has a profound impact of my relationship with money. However, The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel is one of them. And here are the 18 lessons that I learned from the psychology of money that changed my financial life forever. And hopefully they can change yours too. And maybe yours too. And the first one is, no one is crazy. Well, not really. We do think we know so much about the world, but actually the way we think, our world view, is quite limited. Our own personal experiences makes up of around 0.0000001% of what actually happened in the world. However, it is making up of around 80% of what we actually think is happening in the world. We all know about the Great Recession of 2008, but unless you've been through it, you will never understand the emotional scar, the fear of investing again. And many low-income individuals spend hundreds and hundreds of pounds or dollars buying lottery tickets every single year instead of investing that money. And we might think that is just so crazy. However, for them, it's the only chance of having any good lump sum of money. And therefore, no one is crazy. The next time you see someone making financial decisions that you would not make or disagree with, do not judge them. Do understand that they do make those decisions based on their life experiences and what they've been taught. Now, luck and risk plays more important part to your finance than your financial skills. I think people who won Euro Million lottery can vouch for this because it's definitely not their numbers picking skills. But anyway, we tend to overemphasize the skills and effort when the outcome is very much influenced by luck and risk. Our circumstances normally define opportunities available to us. Now take Bill Gates for example, and let me just add here that Bill Gates is a hardworking individual and he is incredibly smart. However, he was one of the few kids who went to the only high school in the US in his time with a computer. Now, Morgan Housel estimates that this is kind of like 1 in a million chance. So with that in mind, don't draw conclusions from extreme examples because they are difficult to replicate. Rather look at broad patterns from various examples. You know, it's really difficult to be the next Warren Buffett, but what you can do is study his investing style, learn more about financial and time freedom by reading books or watching informative YouTube videos about financial education, like you're doing now. There are many people out there that seem to have everything, whether that be wealth, power, freedom, only to lose them all because they don't have a sense of enough. There is absolutely no need to risk everything you have for something that you don't have or don't even need. The hardest financial skill seems to be learning how to stop when you actually have enough. And I think a lot of us are guilty of this. Once we reach our goal, especially financial goals, it seems like the goalpost seems to move to the next step. Once you reach your 100k, then your next goal would be 500k and then so on, so forth. The problem with modern society is that the ceiling of comparison is just so high and it's just so difficult for anyone to ever hit it. I mean, unless you're Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk or something. Compound interest. You may have heard of Warren Buffett, one of the greatest investors of all time. However, Warren Buffett's fortune isn't just due to being a good investor, but also time. Warren Buffett, now at the age of 90, has been investing since he was a child, since he was 10 years old, and has now accumulated over $80 billion of personal wealth. However, half of his wealth was actually acquired after his 56th birthday. So the lesson here is that we need to extend our time horizon. Start saving and investing as early as we can so that we allow time for our money to grow. Getting wealthy does not always mean staying wealthy. The truth is, a lot of people know how to make money, but very few knows how to keep it. So instead of wanting big returns, focusing your effort on having unbreakable financial plan, having a solid financial plan, and plan for things that you don't plan for to happen. So such as having emergency fund for rainy days, for example. You can be wrong half the time, but you know what? You can still make a fortune. A lot of things in business and investing works this way, where the long tail, which is the furthest ends of the distribution of outcomes, has the most tremendous impact in finances. Or to put simply, a small number of events account for majority of the success. For example, think about the stock market. There are loads of companies listed in the stock market. However, only a fair few are extraordinary winners, and most of these winners account for the majority of the activities, transactions, or valuation of the stock market. So when you finally come to accept that tails drive everything in business, in investing, in finance, then you'll be more comfortable to accept that things can actually go wrong, break or fail, and it's quite normal for them to be, and that will make you a bit more comfortable with investment failure. Freedom is invaluable. Now, this is definitely true for me. The highest form of wealth is actually the ability to wake up and say,
I want to do whatever I want,
whenever I want, with whoever I want, as long as I want it. And this, for me, is more important than salary, the size of the house, or the job title. It is the highest form of dividend that money can pay, and it's certainly something that I'm actively working towards. And here's another thing. No one is more impressed with your possession than you are. People tend to want wealth or possession that they can signal to other people that they have wealth in order to gain liked and be admired by other people. And that's why with enough money, most people will prefer to drive a Ferrari rather than driving a Kia Picanto. Morgan calls this man in the car paradox, because most people will tend to think cool car you've got, not cool driver, which is completely opposite to what you want to happen to begin with. Most of the time, people will bypass admiring you because they're too busy benchmarking their desire against your wealth. And as we're talking about wealth, the truth is wealth is actually what you don't see. This concept may sound so simple, but walking along major streets in any major cities, you see that a lot of people still don't understand this. Rich is current income. Rich means that you can buy fancy car, you can buy expensive bags, you can buy diamonds. However, wealth is what you actually keep. If you spend money buying things, you get things and not the money. Saving money is the only one thing in your personal finance that you can control. Investments, returns or loss is kind of out of your control. You may be picking the best stock in the stock market. However, if the market is going down, like we're going through the economic crisis right now, that stock might not be performing well. Income is also another thing that is kind of out of your control, especially if you are employed. In order to increase or decrease your income, that is pretty much depending on the decision of your line manager or the company. Now, when it comes to making financial decisions, it's much better to be reasonable rather than being coldly rational. Now, what's the difference? A rational investor will make a decision based purely on the numbers. A reasonable investor, however, will make a decision in a conference room surrounded by his colleague that gives him various different facts. He would make a decision with his spouse that he doesn't want to let down. He would take into consideration his personal doubts, his gut feelings. Investing has a social element that normally get ignored if you only look at investing through financial lens. Being reasonable is more realistic, and it will help you stick to whatever you're doing with your money in the longer term if you're being realistic, and that is the most important thing when it comes to managing money. One of my all-time favorite personal finance quotes actually comes from this book, and it's that things that never happened happen all the time. What this means is that there is always a surprise. It's great to learn about the past, but the past does not always define the outcome of the future. And this is why you hear
Past performance may not be indicative of future results. Therefore, you should not assume that the future performance of any specific investment or investment strategy will be profitable or equal to corresponding past performance levels.
In any financial related materials. If you followed this channel for a while, you know that I love planning, and planning is important, but the most important part of planning is to plan and for things to not go to plan, especially when it comes to money, because every investment involves risks, and it's just so much better to take that into consideration so that when things go bad, your investment is not entirely wiped out. This may seem like a simple concept and you may think that everyone understands this, but I am still continuously surprised by how many people is not taking this into consideration when they plan their money. And most likely, you change. You normally change over time, so when you make goals, make sure to be sensible, especially 5 to 10 years ago, because then you might not be wanting the same thing you're wanting now. Nothing is free. Everything has a price, but not all prices appear on labels. Don't think of the dip in the market or your investment as a penalty, but think of it as a fee that you pay so that one day you can reap the rewards after. The moment that you understand that paying the fee, such as being in the market dip, is necessary so that one day you can have good returns, will help you build better mindset to deal with market volatility and help you stick with investment and saving a little bit longer. I hate to admit this, but when it comes to personal finance, everyone is playing different games, and therefore don't take financial advice from other people without understanding their situation and their motives, because they might be playing different financial games and it's so difficult for you to replicate because that's not your circumstance. For example, some people would put all the money that they will ever make into cryptocurrency in a hope that they can 30x their money and that they can retire early at the age of 40. I am now in my mid-30s and I can tell you that is not the game that I can play. I have a house, I have a mortgage to pay, I have a husband, I have a dog to look after. So with the current responsibilities and obligations that I have, I just can't take that much risk. So it's really crucial to really look inwards and understand your own circumstances, your own goals, and your time horizon so that you are not easily persuaded by other people's actions and behaviors, which will lead you into making wrong financial decisions that might not be the best for you. Another lesson I learned from this book is that, and that's kind of confirmed my thought recently when I see things on social media, and that is pessimism sells. People generally buy into pessimism more than optimism, and therefore pessimism just gets more attention. Japan, for example, their economy has grown by 15 times since World War II, and their life expectancy has actually doubled. However, if you say this to any Japanese person during that time of the war, no one will ever believe you. So when negative events happen, especially if you're looking at the UK economy now, just remember that things will get back on track and the UK or the rest of the world, wherever you are, will have economic growth again. But we just have to stick to it long enough and ride it out. When it comes to money or anything in life, generally you will believe whatever you want to believe. The more you want something to be true, the more likely you're going to believe in that story and ignore the odds of that thing being true. For example, after World War I, no one believed that there will be another war ever again, and look, here we are. And that's because we desperately want that to be true, and that has a very major impact of how we think about money, especially when it comes to economy and investment. And this is something that I am continuously have to be mindful of as well. As a homeowner, I do want to believe strongly that the house prices will keep going up, especially in London, so that when it comes for me to sell, I can reap a healthy profit. However, that thought or that story that I want to believe could be just an appealing fiction, because how the economy works might not be what it will turn out to be. And another thing I believe in is that I do believe that this community will soon reach 10,000 subscribers. So if you want to be part of that, then do subscribe to the channel right here, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.